Greetings and welcome to the Goddess Breath on YouTube. We are in the middle of the Embodied Consciousness series, and I am excited to talk about this episode and do some breathing with you on this particular topic that's related to living a myth. In the other couple of episodes, we talked about coming home to yourself and what that means. It's hearing the call. It's sometimes having to really take a look within and meet your shadow and what that can entail, which also could be in a sense not scary or something disturbing or that there's anything wrong, but more so those parts of yourself that have been waiting to be seen, that are wanting to emerge into your consciousness so you can experience more wholeness. So, like I was saying today, I want to get into this part of the this series, which is living a myth. And I'm going to start by asking you, have you ever wondered why the same kinds of people keep showing up in your life? I think that's something as we get older, we can start to really notice when we have patterns of certain characters or the character of certain people, or the same sort of reflection comes back. You're asking yourself the same things. Is it me? And why certain relationships feel strangely familiar, like you know somebody. Why you keep finding yourself facing the same fears, the same challenges, the same questions. So what if it isn't coincidence? What if your life isn't random? What if you're already living a myth? You already are living a myth. And Carl Jung believed that beneath our personal stories are universal patterns. He called them archetypes. They are not characters that we necessarily choose. They are reflections, living energies. We can open our mind to that shape our life experience. They're in our peripheral vision, and it's our perspective. Could be like the mother archetype, the hero archetype. Maybe you've heard some of this before. The trickster, always kind of pulling the little, uh, pulling something that creates a reaction from us. Could be the wise old man wanting to teach us something deeper about ourselves, responsibility, discipline, but it can be even further from that. It can be the great mother archetype, nurturing, coming to balance, support. Could be the king, the goddess. That's a lot of what I have been working with and talking about. So that's definitely something I'm familiar with. But I'm also familiar with other characters in Ainana's story that are her counterparts, and being able to identify with all of them, or like how I see myself in that archetypal characteristic of a role. We don't simply read these stories. That's what I'm saying. We actually can live and breathe them. Sometimes when we're reading a book that's nonfiction, we find that we are able to like be in that story. We can experience ourselves in those characters. And in that way, then we become them through our own unique lens. So Joseph Campbell recognized something extraordinary with all of this. Whether we, study any kind of ancient myth like Odysseus, Jesus, Buddha, Luke Skywalker, they're all remarkably telling the same or similar story. Not because history repeats itself, but because myths are not simply stories we tell. They are stories we embody. Our bodies remember these stories. Our relationships reveal them as a mirror. Our dreams symbolize them. What we strive after. We want that too. What that archetype or character represents. We want that. We want to be represented that way. We want to be seen that way. And our breath reconnects us with them. So we will be doing a breath exercise here in just a minute. Our suffering, though, is what often introduces us to them. Our suffering, our willingness to want more self-knowledge, whether we realize it or not. So consider the aspect of projection for a moment. Projection. Think of a projector, projecting how we see things, how we experience things in another. So we think we're fighting our spouse, our boss, our parents. We have our issues with politics. We either are into religion or we're not. Society's reflections on us, how society's rule is, and we think we also should be playing out those roles that we are told are normal or acceptable. But often we're encountering unlived parts of ourselves when we do that, when we project. The outer world becomes the stage upon which the inner myth unfolds. I'll say that again. The outer world, all out here, becomes the stage upon which the inner myth, our inner narrative, unfolds. So if archetypes are living within us, then who are these inner figures, right? Well, let's experience that together. Let's see if your psyche has a story it would like to tell you. So I invite you to take a breath. You see, I always just naturally go to that. Inhaling, exhaling, conscious, intentional breaths. Take a slow breath and gently exhale. Get into your own rhythm. Again, breathing in, exhaling slowly. Breathe into your body. Feel the movement in your body. Where do you feel the movement in your body? Now notice feeling your feet on the floor. Imagine connecting with Earth when you do this. Gravitational pull of Earth, feeling your feet on the floor. Notice your chest expanding wider with the inhale, slowly exhaling, contracting. Again, notice your chest opening, exhaling slowly. Notice your breath just softening, coming into your rhythm. And imagine, and you can close your eyes here if this feels right for you. Imagine that your life is not a collection of random events. Imagine your life is not a collection of random events. Imagine your life as a story, a living myth. Allow one situation from your life to gently come into your awareness. take a moment here, focus on the breathing. You don't want to force it. Just allow some part of your life, maybe a situation, a scene, an environment. It's either your workplace, your home place, your relationships. Just simply notice. Maybe it's a challenge that you've come into recently or a recurring pattern that you've noticed that is continuously showing up, and you're asking yourself, why am I here again with this particular situation? Maybe you've had recurring dreams even. So simply ask yourself, if this was a part of myth, what role am I playing? Am I the seeker, standing at the beginning of a journey? Maybe see yourself in that moment, looking out over the horizon. Am I the hero or the heroine, being asked to find courage? See yourself standing in your power. Am I meeting the shadow? Those parts of myself that are unseen, that are hiding, just waiting for the right moment to emerge? Is this part of me going to emerge through someone who continually triggers me? And then I have to look at that reflection because it's healing. That's why we do that. It allows us to become more of who we are, bring more wholeness into our life experience, and being conscious participants in our own story. We could go to the inner child, longing to feel safe. When do I feel safe? Where do I feel safe? What does safety look like to me? Am I the lover? We could be the lover, stepping into vulnerability. What does that feel like? What does that mean? Staying with the breath. Stay with the breath with me. Am I the mystic, being invited to trust the unknown parts, the parts that aren't certain and that I must allow and trust in the unfolding? Or am I the king or the goddess, learning healthy sovereignty, standing again in the power, trusting with an open heart and listening to my inner sovereignty, my inner guidance, my inner healing wisdom? Or perhaps you're similar to me. Take a breath. Walking beside Ainana, or walking beside your particular spirit guide, your archetype that you already know is there. You already know this aspect of yourself and that who you're walking by. And with Ainana, am I ready to descend in order to become more whole? Am I ready to take a look at my shadows? Am I ready to let go of what I no longer need? So what we're doing here, staying with the breath, but also not interested in intellectual responses from your mind and your right brain of your mind. We're just noticing what comes forward, what emerges in the psyche. What did you resonate with? Which one called to you that you felt alive? Like, that one, right? Yeah, I'm just cueing you to stay with the breath, but I'm wanting you to continue the breath on your own, a rhythmic breath, and asking one final question. What of these archetypes that I felt stood out, that I could relate to, called to me. And what is that archetype wanting me to know? What is it trying to bring forward in my mind's eye or my psyche or in my body, even, that I will then learn more about myself? Breathe that question into your heart. Just with your eyes closed, maybe your hand on your heart. It's always a good practice. Put your hand on your heart when you're feeling deeply to go within. And as you're breathing that question in, allow the answer to unfold now, in the next couple hours, in your dreams, over the coming days. There's nothing to force here. There's not any aspect of forcing. It's unfolding, it's noticing, it's being curious, wondering. Because awareness itself begins transformation. Awareness itself begins transformation. When we go within to consider why an archetype has an influence in our relationships, we begin to self-reflect. Or why do we project onto other people we love? We begin to open to more responsibility. Oh, maybe that is me. Maybe I do that too. We can also ask, what happens when we are in control and bring these archetypes home to the inner dialogue as a way of growth, as a way of transformation, as a way of coming home to ourselves? That's where we're going to go next. In the next episode, we will inquire with the inner parts of ourself that want to connect, that want to be united, that have been starving for union and intimacy. We'll explore the concepts from my book that is titled The Sacred Union, Connecting the Masculine and Feminine Within. We'll talk a little bit about Pride Month. This is the month of June, and what we can learn from others that have connected with their own inner masculine and feminine. So this also, we'll talk a little bit about the fact that this is the Jungian's or Jung's take on his terms, the anima and the animus, and integrating them, and how when we reflect the opposites onto another, we notice more of that. We can be more aware of that. Oh, I did do that, didn't I? But then we can reflect within. We can say, oh, actually, let me check in here. That's when the transformation happens. That's when more unfolding and opening happens. And just to share with you personally, I've experienced different aspects of Ainana's counterparts within myself. For example, a Rishka gal journeying to the underworld could be my sister. I can actually see her, either my sister and either my biological sister, a sister who is maybe someone of conflict that I'm having to be in a relationship with. Like, for example, a stepmom from my son that was quite a trial and a tribulation to deal with, trying to take my son away from me. And of course, I'm going to stand up and create what is going to be the best benefit for both my son, myself, the whole of who we're talking about, but I need to check in when I'm doing that. And that's what happened in that time in my life. I was able to really notice parts of myself that I thought were just her. And I said, oh my goodness, and out of the mouth of babes is really how it started, with my own son saying, well, Mom, you're kind of like her, when he was about, 12 years old. So now 18 years later, or more, we are still working with how to find that wanting to project on others, yet, oh, I just projected. Let me go in on that. Let me go within. Let me check in on this. What is this about with me, and how I can see it, right? Maybe even a family member that has been troubling you for years, or a colleague that is constantly triggering you. It could be anybody. And it's important to recognize that this is how the opening happens. It's kind of like that the door starts to open. You see some light once you open the door, and then you feel safe doing that. Then the door opens more. So I thank you for being with me today, and I hope that that was helpful for you to learn a little bit more, to understand a little better your own self. And we will continue on. Like I said, we're going to focus more on these parts of ourselves, the masculine and feminine aspects. And just to close, I just realized I'm wearing the lion. The lion, the animals, they can also be archetypes that we can learn from, because they have certain symbolism to help us understand maybe this particular thing that's happening in our life, and give us some insights, and help us also feel you're not imagining this, right? So anyway, I just wanted to end with that, because the lion is very close to me in my psyche of what has helped me learn more about myself. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. If you want to know more information about my books, I have the link to my website, The Goddess Breath, below. Thank you so much.